All right, this is the part 3 of the chapter. Let's get started. 74. Okay, so first thing I want to do is that you need to rewrite that sine squared theta to 1 minus cosine squared theta equals to 2 cosine theta plus 2. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 1 and negative cosine squared theta. So I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides. I'm going to add cosine squared theta on both sides. Okay, so on the left hand side, it's going to be 0. And I'm going to have cosine squared theta plus 2 cosine theta plus 1. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and factor it. So I'm going to have cosine theta plus 1 times cosine theta plus 1. Okay, so set each one equal to 0. They're basically the same binomial. So you can just conclude that cosine theta equals to negative 1. Okay, so that's pretty much saying that 180 degrees. So you can say theta equals to pi. Okay, so let's look at the number 76. So we can go ahead and factor this. So you can factor it to 2 cosine theta plus 1 times cosine theta minus 4. Okay, equals to 0. So let's work on this separately. So for this one, we know that it's 2 cosine theta equals to negative 1, and then a cosine theta equals to negative 1/2. So 1/2 is going to give you two different measures. So you're going to have 120 and 240. Okay, so let's write that in radians. So it's going to be 2 pi over 3. For the 240, you're going to write 4 pi over 3. Okay, so let's look at the other one. For this one, you're going to have cosine theta equals to 4. Now let's analyze this. This is if you put it over 1, so that's just going to basically saying that x over r is 4 over 1. Now your x is greater than your radius. It's impossible. Okay, so not available for this measure. So your answer is just going to be 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Okay, so let's look at number 78. So number 78, first thing I want to do is distribute the 4 and then rewrite this cosine squared theta as 1 minus sine squared theta. Okay, so it's going to equal to 4 plus 4 sine theta. Okay, let's move the right components to the left. So add sine squared theta on both sides. And then I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides. So now I'm going to have this as sine squared theta plus 4 sine theta. And then we got a 4 minus 1, so it's plus 3 equals to 0. Go ahead and factor that. So that's sine theta plus 1 times sine theta plus 3 equals to 0. So set each binomial equals to 0. So you're going to have sine theta equals to negative 1. That's basically just 270. Okay, because you know that this is 0 comma negative 1, right? Y equals to negative 1. Okay, there is only going to be one measure for that, so you can write that as 3 pi over 2. Okay, let's look at another one. So for this one, you're going to have sine theta equals to negative 3. Well, we know that negative 3 is negative 3 over 1, and then you're going to have y over r. Well, negative 3 over 1, that's just not available. Okay, so your only answer is going to be 3 pi over 2. Okay, comes the last question of the video. So let's just go ahead and have to apply the trig identity. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to just subtract 1 on both sides. Okay, and I'm going to subtract cotangent on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to have, let's see, and I'm going to rewrite this. Okay, I'm going to rewrite that as cotangent squared theta plus 1. Okay, that's just one of the identities. Okay, and then go ahead and then subtract 1. So you're going to have to subtract 1, and you're going to have to subtract cotangent theta. Okay, everything equals to 0. Okay, so you're going to cancel out the plus 1 and minus 1. So you're just going to have cotangent squared theta minus cotangent theta equals to 0. So let's factor out the cotangent theta. Okay, so cotangent theta, factor it out. So I have multiplied by cotangent theta minus 1 equals to 0. Okay, so you're going to have to set this equal to 0, set this equal to 0. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and erase everything on top and continue to work on it. So we have a cotangent theta equals to 0. Okay, this one right here. So we know that this is x over r, so sorry, x over y. Okay, so x over y equals to 0. That's gonna give you the 90 degrees and then 270. Okay, so in this case, theta equals to pi over 2 for 90 degrees, 3 pi over 2 for 270 degrees. Okay, let's look at the other one. For this one right here, you're going to have a cotangent theta equals to positive 1. Okay, so that's just basically saying x over y equals to 1, which means that x and y, you can have two different scenarios. You can have a negative 1 over negative 1, or you can have a positive 1 over positive 1. Okay, so for the positive 1 over 1, it's going to be 45 degrees. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to say that's going to be pi over 4. Okay, for the negative 1 over negative 1 is going to be the 225 degrees. So for that one, it's going to be 5 pi over 4. All right, so that's it. God.